So how does that saying go? You might be crazy, but you ain't stupid. So, all right, party people, we are back in effect. This is episode 2 of Opinions versus Facts. And we have a great one for you today, man. Oh my God, we've been chopping this one up for a little minute. We've been cooking it up. It's been a big debate amongst our friends and family, and we wanted to bring it to you guys to get your opinion on this. And this is dear to my heart because my son is going through this today. Today, 2 hours ago, I had his hands up like this, punching him, trying to show him how to punch, tell him to hit me, and he hitting me like this, and I'm like trying to turn his fist to turn it that way. But I'm gonna let A tell you what we're talking about today.
So I'm scrolling through Instagram, right? And the dude, there's a video, dude hops on the bus. He says he's gonna kill everybody on the bus. His kid is like 7 years old, 8 years old, and you can see little people on the bus like, we didn't do nothing. But he's on the bus, grown man, and he's like, he's gonna kill everybody if they fuck with his daughter again. I got a daughter, you got kids, I got kids. In theory, like, what are we doing? Are we fighting kids for real? Are we encouraging our kids to fight? Are we encouraging big brothers to go stomp out little sisters, bully at the school? Like, what are we doing?
So today's topic is fight or not, baby. Fight or not. Are you about that life or are you retired? I'm not
So where
retired.
you at with it?
I'm not retired. So let me tell you.
You fighting?
So back in the days, my sister is 3.5 years younger than me. In first grade, well, she was going to PS 269, the annex, which was 2 blocks from the house. And there was a little kid picking on her. And she came around the way, told me, we was hanging out on the stoop like we do, told us what was going on. It was just in time for me and my man to run up there and find the little kid and stop the daylights out of him in front of everybody too. Nobody did anything. And so we stomped him out. Long story short, he never messed with her again. I feel like some people, or most people, that's the only language they understand. And that language still holds well today. And I'm about that life.
Hold up. Hold up. I mean, it's easy to say, like, all right. So I thought about this, right? I thought about this, and I'm like, my daughter come home, and I'm scared, man. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this shit on camera. Like, I'm really scared for the day my kids come home and they either done got in a fight, they got their ass whipped. Because I think my daughter more with it than my son. I think my daughter is with the shits. Yeah. I think Sid with it. I think Sid with the shits though. But I'm really, like, my thought was, what would I do and what will I do when, and I believe it's inevitable that with young people today that my kids are gonna encounter some bullshit. And I'm sure they're trying to figure out my position. I'm not really clear. My instinct is, what's my instinct? My instinct is I want to defend my children, right? And I want to be there for them. But am I willing to go so far as to, like, go on a bus and I don't think what dude did might be a crime, but I don't think it was wrong because he didn't really hit nobody. He threatened them, and that might be good enough to keep them off his kid.
It is a crime too, but yeah.
Right, like he threatened them. Yeah, I can see that. You know, but like we've seen these videos where you actually have moms. I see more women than I do men, like really bringing their kids to fights. Like, your kid got beat up somewhere. She come home, tell you, okay, we getting in the car, we rolling over there, and you gonna fight this girl.
I think they're overcompensating, right? They're doing that because maybe there's no male at home. So in their mind, in order to deal with this issue, they have to do what they would think a male would do, the extreme thing, especially if they have a little boy. A mom with a little boy, her biggest fear is the fact that the father's not around, that this little boy is not going to grow up to be a man. So her position when it comes to that is, well, what would a man do? Well, you're going to fight, right? So you know what? Bobby, I'm taking you, you got to fight, right? As a matter of fact, that was what, the first episode of Raising Canaan, right?
Oh, damn, it really was, right? Yeah, she took him down the block to go fight.
Yeah.
On the
gonna
playground.
fight. That's what we're going to do, right? And so it's complicated because a lot of it was because we was from the hood. We didn't know any better. That's what everybody was doing. But we not in the hood no more. Our kids
And that's my point. Like,
not in the hood.
I'll tell you a quick one. We moved. We lived in a hotel, waiting for our housing accommodations to come available in the projects. Like, we had to stay in the hotel just to move into the projects. First thing Mama said was, "Don't make no fucking friends. We ain't gonna be here long." Get down there for some reason. I don't know why, but the project drug dealer little brother became my arch nemesis, and we get to beef, and I don't know why. And my mom's motto was like, "Yo, told you don't bring that bullshit to my door." And they came to my door because when I got off the elevator, my stepbrother was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go get Tony." They don't know my mother's name is Tony.
Right.
He run, go tell her. I get away. I run in the crib. I'm literally in the bedroom, and they knock on the door like a gang of cats. "Where Tony? Bring Tony out." My mom was like, "Yo, get your ass out there and go fight."
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm on that today as a parent, right? Like, when Sydney or Avery come home, again, I think Sydney gonna come home and be like, "Hey, I gotta tell you something. I punched somebody in the mouth."
Right.
Avery, I'm scared for young King, right? But I'm like, what am I gonna do? Am I just gonna be on the go to school? Because we had this conversation. Like, the schools aren't doing enough to protect the kids in the schools.
Right.
The fights are happening. That's not enough accountability.
Right.
And of course, my instinct is to really, like, I'm sure it's gonna be the one to hurt a kid, but I really can't see myself going and stomping out some kid.
So 2 quick stories. My daughter, who's 2, we actually have it on video. Maybe I'll cut it in. At her school, little white kid, right? He was playing with his toy. He walked away from the toy. He went somewhere. It's on video. She walked over, picked up the toy. She starts playing with it. The toy belongs to the classroom, not him. All right, I just wanted to say that. He comes back, he sees her with the toy. He runs, tries to grab the toy from her. She snatch him up, grab his ear, twist his ear. He run away crying. I ain't mad at that. I'm like, that's story number 1. Story number 2, my son, Farrell. He's 17 now, but he probably was around 10. And this part matters to me. So he has, a bunch of different things going on. He has sickle cell and renal vascular hypertension. He's in and out of the hospital a lot, been through a lot. This part matters. And he takes minoxidil, which we know makes your hair grow, right? He takes it for high blood pressure. So it actually makes his hair grow more than normal. He has the full beard, right? So at 10, he had like hair on his knuckles.
Okay.
And so he noticed that there was a little girl in his class that also had hair on her knuckles. So he said to her, "Oh, you have hair on your knuckles like me." Whatever reason, she took offense, slapped the shit out of him, right? He tell us, we find out, call the school, it happened, I'm livid. I run up there, my first instinct is, of course I can't beat the crap out of the 10-year-old. So we locking her up, because if it was reverse, my son be in handcuffs, assaulting a woman. So I'm calling the cops. I called the cops, actually, and immediately it felt like the whole school, principal, vice principal, teacher, everybody's trying to talk me out of it. "Oh no, please, Mr. Alley, don't do that. We'll take care of it." They called the mother on speakerphone. The mother's on the phone. "I'm so sorry, this, that, the third, whatever." Unfortunately, I allowed them to talk me out of it, and I allowed them to handle it, quote unquote. The very next day, daughter's back in my son's class. They gave her in-school suspension, but she didn't get nothing. She stayed there in front of him. Nothing was done. If I had that day to do over again, and two of the reasons I want to make clear. One is anybody that knows Pharaoh, he's like sweetest, nicest. He's been through too much. So for anybody to touch him physically, he wouldn't even think to touch you. For that reason only, we going back to 269 when I was a kid, we stomping him out. And so I was smart enough to know that I can't stomp out a 10-year-old. Maybe because it didn't happen in front of me. But I had to do whatever drastic thing is to solve the problem and defend my child.
So what is drastic though? Like what is drastic when your child is assaulted and attacked or in a fight? Is what's going too far? Like as an adult, is it getting on the bus, threatening and making everybody clear, like, I don't care who you mess with, you don't mess with this one? When I saw that video, I was like, a lot of people was commenting under the post, and there was a lot of mixed, oh, he did wrong for that.
Right.
Like, really, I actually think that I get the whole, I don't think that's going too far because you're setting the precedence, and maybe them kids will probably leave that little girl alone.
Oh, they're gonna leave that little girl alone.
You think so?
Yeah, facts.
I don't think the kids give a shit no more. I don't know and you know what is something else, and this may not be relevant, but we always talk about the parents, and I think people don't recognize that the community of peers is way stronger than probably what parents are being able to do and instill in their kids. You know what I'm saying? And to the point that, like, when they're in that environment, almost, I mean, you can give it to them, they might not get it till later on or may not apply it, but when they in that environment with their peers, it's a whole different world. That's a hard terrain.
We've been on this planet for what, millions of years? I don't know how long we've been here. One thing that's never changed, and this is innate to us as humans, anytime there's consequences and you know what I'm gonna say? People act differently. And so how does that saying go? You might be crazy, but you ain't stupid. So consequences and repercussions, the most ghetto hood, wild, ignorant kid ain't dealing with the 6'5", 300-pound dude. He ain't stupid. So anytime there's consequences, all this little bad kid stuff go out the window.
Nah, that's with the presumption that's they're processing it like that. Took my kids to the football game Friday. Horrible design, whoever designed this new place for real. And it matters because there's 1,000 people trying to go in and out one area. Maybe that's intentional to streamline the goings and coming of the people, but what it also creates is a very small space for people to walk to and from. Mm-hmm. So as I'm walking, me, Avery, Sid, we trying to get to the seats, little young dude come through. He come through and, he don't give a shit about how big I am, and he a little dude, like he come to my elbow. And just so happened, wherever he's trying to get to is right in front of me, his homeboy. He's saying whatever he's saying to his homeboy. He never acknowledges that he just came through me in a super inappropriate way,
because
right?
He knows in that situation you ain't gonna do nothing. That's why.
Nah.
As a parent in a busy situation with his kid, he know you ain't gonna do nothing.
I think that could be true.
Slap the shit out of him, and I bet you that tough guy is gonna disappear. It's gonna fly away.
But let me tell you what I peeped. So here's what I had to process. Number one, cool. The dude he was talking to, nothing. But there was a dude low key to my left who was with them.
Okay.
But he was, and I'm checking him out. And what I understand is that chances are, for this to end civilly, and I guess that's what I'm on. I'm on shit kind of being civil before I get into nigga shit. And I'm thinking, I say something to him, he ain't thinking, I disagree, he not thinking I'm not gonna do anything, so what he did was okay. I just think he just super self-absorbed in his own world, he don't give a shit about what I'm thinking.
It could be that.
And I'm also thinking he's probably gonna be ready to pop off. If I'm like, yo, then the moment I pop off with him, I got him, and him. And I'm not really worried about the numbers, right? Mm-hmm. I'm always worried about the optics with my kids.
Of course.
You know, that's the first thing I'm thinking. And I don't want to be the center of the fucking melee at the football game.
No.
But, you know, my point is I'm thinking like, damn. I think the problem with this is, on one hand, I want to say, it probably just wouldn't have ended well. Like, I don't think that guy.
No, it's not going to end well.
Right, that guy would have probably not been. Hey, man, say sorry to the gentleman.
No, I get it.
You know.
Well, real quick though, I want to ask you guys to say in the comments how you feel, your position, and what you would do.
Yeah, like so, your kid come home, they done got punched in the mouth, or not even fighting, but they got punched in the mouth.
Black eye.
Black eye. You going to school, you tearing up shit, you kicking ass, you looking for Keisha or little Mike, and you fighting this shit. What you doing? Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, for sure. So, and this could be from my personal experience. In my personal experience, both growing up in New York and especially in Atlanta for whatever reason, and I have my thoughts about that. People don't want it. People talk, the bark is serious, but every position that I've been in, when it was time to bite, they ain't really want it, yo.
I don't disagree, but it's a different time now. Like, they don't want it enough, which is what leads to the reaction of all of the kids pulling guns super fast and shooting, because they really ain't. Not that they don't have hands, but they so fragile and don't know how to deal with the situation. Right. Like, they don't have the real enough tough skin to even give it up enough. So it's easy to just be like, oh shit, I'm scared. This nigga really about to fight me. I don't know what else to do. And it seems like this is the thing we do.
Right. And I got
bam, bam.
Right. So you never answered the question though. Your son comes home with the speeding eye and a black eye. What do? What's the first thing you do?
Honestly, first thing I do, I'm calling the school. I'm figuring out.
So you're not going up there first. You hop on
on my way. I'm probably calling while I'm on my way.
So you are going up there.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out.
Going up there.
Yeah, because so my point really is what I'm doing is I'm trying to find.
Assess the situation.
Make the school be accountable. That's what I'm doing. On the low, I'm trying to find out where that nigga live so I don't get caught and I snatch him up.
So wait. So you go up to the school. You speak to
principal, vice principal, counselor,
and they say, we're not sure. We think, it was hearsay. Nobody really was around. We don't know what happened. This other kid seems like a pretty good kid. He's never had any problems before. We don't know what to do.
So honestly, and this might sound like some corny ass shit. So the direct response to that is what I think this leads to is now me trying to rap with the parents and let's figure this out because it can't keep happening. But I think what's more important, here's the corny part, I don't think our schools are doing enough to be held accountable to making sure shit happen in these instances.
Let me give you a real life scenario similar to that. My son comes home. He's 5, right? And I forgot how it came up, but he said some kid was chopping him. Like, what the hell is chopping? Some kid was chopping him, and he said that, he didn't like it. It was a problem. That was one day. Another day, he's with me because he's sick, and he says, Daddy, I don't want to go back to school. I'm like, you don't want to go back to school? Why not? He was like, because such and such keeps on chopping me. I'm like, really? Okay. Speak to wifey. She says that she emailed the teacher never responded. So I'm like, look, we need to get somebody on the phone and get this thing resolved, right? And so she contacts the teacher again. The teacher tells her, oh, well, all the little boys, they play rough. That's what they do. Your son plays too. Same example I just gave. They brush it off, say they don't know, or say everybody's doing it. But then you have your child saying they don't want to go back to school because this is happening. So now the teacher, she pleads, hey man, I don't know, that's what they do. Then what do you do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's no accountability, and I'm saying in
Right.
that instance, when I took Avery and Sydney to one of their previous schools, Imhotep, or was it Roma? I think this was when we first came to Imhotep. The first question I asked, like, how do y'all handle discipline? And what I learned in these institutions, private and public, is that discipline is far removed for real from the school, especially when it's your child and your child done got chopped or a black eye. You know what I'm saying? Like and I go back to the schools being more accountable, like really, what can you do? Your son is 5, the other kid is 5, the teacher, you go threaten the fuck out the teacher, now you caught charges, we gotta find a way to legitimately make these institutions be more accountable, and that might be some real corny ass shit, but what can you do?
Well, let me tell you what I did.
Okay.
First, I told my son, anybody touches you, knock him out.
Okay, yes.
You gotta knock him out, yo. He's probably not gonna do that, right? But I have to hold that position with him.
I agree.
They touch you, you better touch him back times 10. Second of all, I spoke to the teacher. I said, hey, I'm holding you accountable because this is happening under your watch, right? So you could elect to do nothing, but if a kid gets hurt, you're ultimately responsible. Because just like if the kid was in my care and something happened, I would be responsible. And then third is to reach out to the parent. I need to reach out to the parent because the parent ultimately, in my opinion, has the most power to stop their child. Whatever they do, they threaten their child, talk to them, lecture them, whatever. Like, hey, you touch this kid again, it's gonna be a problem. Now, I run the risk of the parent saying, yeah, I'm gonna do that, then hanging up the phone and laughing, high-fiving their kid, right? I don't know. But it is my position, like what I said earlier, that I'm gonna take the most proactive, maybe even hostile approach to it to let all parties know that if you elect to do nothing, it's gonna be a problem. Whatever that problem is,
right? But
it's
does
gonna be a problem.
does that amount? What does that amount to? Like in real life, what does that amount to?
Well, you know this, Mr. Aggressive. You know this.
What?
Yeah.
You gonna choke the teacher out?
Well, no. Well, what I'm saying is,
you pull your kid out the school.
What I found
doesn't solve the problem.
No, in regular life, and you could attest to this. You have people that are passive, people that are maybe in the middle, then aggressive people. Mm-hmm. Do aggressive people get the problem solved more than the other two groups of people?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, those are 3 approaches that I have the choice of taking. From my experience, the most aggressive person, right, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, has the highest chance of getting it resolved. I'm not saying that I will, but I'm saying in that position, I'm always going to take that approach.
The dude coming on the bus solved the problem.
Yes. Or the dude coming on the bus has the best chance of solving a problem than the dude who's doing nothing, who's just calling the school, who's just speaking to the teacher. So I'm not going to guarantee that it's solved because these badass kids. But I'm saying, out of the 3 little bears, that one is going to solve the problem more than the other 2, unless you have a 4th option that I don't know about.
And what I'm gonna say to y'all is, this is one of them times when I used the term edifying before. You know what? I'll yield to say, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree that, you can't really idly stand by and do nothing. Although my first instinct isn't to run on the bus, and because I feel like for me, I'm gonna go too far, and so I feel like I don't need them real life problems in my life. But we definitely got to protect our kids.
But also, you trust yourself in the evolution of AJ, right? Because this is not AJ at 17.
Right.
This is the evolution. So is it fair to say that this version of you is still you? So me stomping the kid out, stomping the 7-year-old, I'm not saying that I would do it now, but I'm doing this modern day version of that by being the most aggressive and proactive person in the scenario. More aggressive than the teacher, the other parent, the principal, whoever. Because from my experience, what I've kind of found is that, and what I said before, that I realized that in most cases people don't want it. The person who responds extremely aggressive in most situations, not all, has the best chance of shutting everybody else down. Because in general, the majority of the people are like the other two groups.
You know, it's funny. I ain't gonna tell this story. I'm gonna tell this story offline, just because I don't want to make this video dumb long. But that's all good until you really meet the motherfucker that's like, word.
Hey, man.
Let's fucking have fun with it.
Hey, man. Hey, man. Have I met that person? Let me think.
I ain't met the person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, this is a different story for a different day. But yeah, did I meet somebody who wanted to smoke? Yeah, and I had to smoke with them. Yeah, keep going. But what I would tell you is, I didn't lose. It could have went really bad for sure. And if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have took a different approach.
And the other thing that we got to keep in context here is it's different when we talking about us.
Right.
Like we have the potential, because it's who we are, a different version of us. We have the potential to do shit. You know what I'm saying? That probably most people our age probably realistically ain't doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's a slightly different dynamic when the kids are involved.
Quick question, right? You walking down the street, somebody bump you hard. What's your reaction?
See, we're gonna have to do another video.
But no. Just
Because no. So my reaction is,
and you got your kids with you. Similar to what you just said. They bump you hard.
I've had this before. I've had variations of this.
Now, wait, same scenario. You walking down the street, you got your kid with you, somebody bump your kid hard. Is it the same reaction as if they bumped you hard?
Nah.
And that's all I'm saying.
No, it's not the same reaction.
That's all I'm saying.
It's not the same reaction.
But it's the kids that cut different. So whatever the modern day version of your reaction is, multiply that times 10 when it comes to the kid, and say honestly that you really don't know until he come home with the knot on his head. Because the knot on his head might make AJ turn into 17-year-old AJ. Facts, you know what I'm saying? You might see red and everything change.
I started with, I'm not sure. What we started with is I'm not sure. Like, what we do know is, ultimately, it's a lot of fuckery going on, and there's not enough accountability going on from other parents not doing what they need to do with their kids to prevent some of this shit from happening, and co-signing the bullshit, i.e. picking your kid up and taking them to the fight, or going on the bus. I mean, defending is one thing, but agitating the situation and being okay with the shits, I don't think is okay. Schools not being accountable for their shit, not okay. Yeah, those are some basic thoughts I got about it.
Yeah, I mean, so we want to just ask you guys in the comments to, maybe you talk about how it used to be and how that you're different now, but I really want to know, in these same scenarios, what would you do? And keep it real and try to, not be too hostile, right? And hey man, this is another episode of Opinions versus Facts, and you can definitely catch me at presise.biz, that's P-R-E-S-I-S-E, and you can type P-R-E-S-I-S-E on all social media platforms and catch me, and make sure you go to P6 Brand Agency for all your marketing and branding needs. AJ.
Hey man, simply just AJ ATL, holla at your boy.